Receiving as a feminine woman really is its own art. In the world, we often see women everywhere who are just naturally receptive. They're natural receivers. They are cared for and pampered not only by their husbands and the men around them, but by everyone else in the world. It's almost like they have just stepped into this energy of being receptive, and the world just knows how to react to that. But when that energy isn't the most familiar to us, we can really struggle with what it is to be receptive. We can often come across in the wrong way, maybe as a little bit bratty or entitled, when really we just really want to be natural receivers in the way that some other women are. Other times we can be a little bit afraid to receive. We might feel like, oh, if I just start, letting somebody else give me this and give me that, what's going to happen when they're not there for me anymore? Sometimes we have a life that's characterized by a little bit of trauma around receiving. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of different things that are really going to help you lean into that energy of becoming a natural receiver. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Azalea Dawn, and I make videos all about how feminine women can take themselves to the next level. So, let's get into it. The first thing to understand is that there is no trophy coming for self sufficiency. I think that there were many wonderful things that came out of feminism, and really, at the end of the day, why we as a generation, millennials and younger, really kind of resent feminism or feel like it's okay to talk badly about it is because we didn't live in the world before women had equal rights. We didn't live in a world where women could not, for instance, open up their own bank accounts, open up our own bank accounts and live on our own. We did not live in that society. That said, today we do have all of these rights. We also have a lot of the responsibility that we think comes with it. And it has led to this kind of belief system where we have to now take it to the other extreme and do everything on our own. We have to work, we have to make our own money, we have to pay our own bills, we have to be, completely self-sufficient for everything. And the thing that I want to remind you here is that there is no trophy coming for self sufficiency. This is something where there were a lot of women who got badly burned from being dependent on others, right? But the thing that I really want to highlight here is that there is a big difference between depending, right? A choice in being dependent when you don't have any other options. Chances are, if you're watching this, you probably, did quite well for yourself in life. You have maybe a college degree, you have work experience, you are able to get a job and provide for yourself. It is a choice to rely on other people and depend on them to meet your needs. You're not a dependent, somebody who can't provide for themselves. You are choosing to depend, right, on another person. So that is what's really huge and different about all of this. When it comes to, a lifetime of self-sufficiency, that may just not be what you want at the end of the day. And if you don't want to constantly be, just independent, doing everything on your own all the time, well, so what? Really, nobody is coming with a trophy, nobody's coming with a ruler to slap you on your hand and tell you that you have been a very bad girl. You can at any point decide, okay, I have had a long time being independent, but I want to make a change now. I want to, try something different. And you have the freedom to explore that at will. So that is really the middle path that you need to walk when it comes to the idea or the relationship between being independent and choosing to depend on others. The next thing to focus on here is that people who would judge you would also never help you. Once upon a time, I was reading Robert Greene's, famous book, The 48 Laws of Power, and one of the things that he says that really resonated with me is that you need to avoid people who are unlucky and unhappy, because the argument he makes, at least in this book, is that one of these two things is true. Either they are just a very negative person, their perspective is wrong and all of their negativity is going to rub off on you, right? Either they just see bad things as happening to them all the time and you're going to start to look at the world in the same way, or they are actually that unlucky, right? They actually do have some kind of cosmic problem where they are walking out of their house and getting struck by lightning. And when that happens, you don't want to be holding their hand, right? So, that is one of the things that I really think is so important to understand in life. There are so many people who don't really want to make themselves better, they want to make you worse. So, how does this relate to you receiving, especially from others as a feminine woman? Well, you may be dealing with a lot of judgment, especially from women who don't really get treated like that. There are plenty of women in the world where nobody is coming to help them. Nobody wants to hold the door open for them. In fact, if they stand there and wait for somebody to hold the door open, they can see furtively out of the corner of their eye when men kind of like, skip ahead a little bit so they don't have to hold the door open for them, or they, stand off to the side just to make sure that she doesn't get the wrong idea. And it builds up this kind of, attitude in her mind where nobody is there to help her. She's undesirable. They don't want her, and that is really unfortunate when people are having that experience. But what you don't want is for that to start to bleed into how you are thinking and the life that you are living, especially if that's not what you want. If you, at the end of the day, are in a position where you are being offered certain perks, maybe people are holding the door open for you, maybe people are giving you things for free, maybe men are buying you gifts, maybe you are being treated well and pampered in a relationship, right? And you just have trouble receiving it, or you have all of these negative people in your ear trying to talk you out of it, or say that if you take something, then so and so will expect something back. You want to start to put some distance between yourself and those people, because at the end of the day, those people who would judge you so harshly for just being a natural receiver, doing the thing that is really natural to you and should be happening in the first place, those people who are judging you harshly about it, really at the end of the day, what it is that they either don't want that to be happening to you because they don't want to have to reconcile that difference, that this is happening for you and it's not happening for them, right? That's one possibility. Or another possibility is that it's just, the good old fashioned evil eye. They just don't want good things for you. They don't want to see, you doing better than they are doing in the world. Either way, you really want to start to focus less on the opinion of more very negative people who just don't want to see you step into that role of being a natural receiver. Speaking of femininity, there is nothing quite like paying attention to all of those little details when it comes to putting yourself together, and a hair oil can be a great part of that. In mine specifically, when I was working with manufacturers, placing orders, my glass had to come in literally from Italy. I imported the glass and everything. I'm not kidding. But that is a story for another day. When I was, in that process, I put a poll out, or just an open question in my community post, and asked, okay, like, what scent do you think would be the best? And one of the responses I got back was anything that smells like food. And I thought, oh, that is such a great idea. So when I went in to get the scent right for this hair oil, I chose sage, like a really fresh bergamot rich, fresh sage, and vanilla, right? To add that almost herbal, smoky, but rich and edible scent, almost like if you were getting a facial at a really upscale spa. with a bakery just outside. And because it penetrates so deep into the hair shaft, that smell really just lingers in the hair without you having to spray perfumes or anything damaging into the hair, because that alcohol can be so drying. So if you are ever, out and about, you just throw your hair up into that claw clip, you have the oil in, and somebody goes in for that hug, they're going to lean in, smell you, and they're going to notice that it's not just that you have on perfume, but also that your hair smells so nice. And those little touches, those little details are really top tier. So if you're interested, I have a link in my description box below. You can shop my brand for my hair oil on Amazon. Let's get back into the video. Now, the next thing that I want to touch on here is that fearing the loss of others is normal and healthy. One of the ways I think that our culture really kind of funnels women into this idea that you have to constantly be hustling, constantly be working 24/7 is this idea of lack, deprivation, and loss. And unfortunately, the culture comes at us with these ideas, not just in, economic forms, right? It really takes advantage of that fear of losing money, of not having the things that you need. But when you are a feminine woman and you are being provided for, the first thing that people kind of come at you with is this idea of what happens if something happens to him? What happens if something happens to the man who's providing for you? If he leaves you, or if he, dies in some tragic and or unfortunate way. And the thing is that fearing the loss of others is both normal and healthy. It is something that really should be happening if your relationship is positive. Think about the love that you have, maybe for your parents or for other family members, maybe for close friends of yours, maybe for your pets or, children if you have them. If somebody is really a positive, impactful, and significant part of your life, it is very normal to fear losing that person. In the same way, when you have a man who really is a generous, caring, loving provider, who's really doing his part for you to make your life wonderful, of course you should be afraid of losing that. That is a very normal and healthy thing. And it's not something that necessarily needs to be responded to with a course of action, although there are actions I would definitely recommend to set yourself up and make sure that you're going to be okay in the event that something happens. But what I really want to focus on here is that that feeling is normal and that it's really everywhere where money is involved. When you are out working and providing for yourself in a job, one of the ways that, corporations control people is to keep you on edge and to make you feel as though you could lose your job with performance evaluations and, forced ranking, and maybe if you have a company that participates in that. These feelings are not necessarily going away regardless of what you do. You really just have to rest assured that you have the tools, no matter what happens, to be resourceful and to take care of yourself. You are not dependent just because you are choosing to depend. To depend is a choice. Now, ladies, the last thing that I want to focus on here is that your rich, meaningful life should have space for others in it. This is one of the things that I think is so important when it comes to the decision whether you are currently working in a corporate career. Like I am. I do work corporate. I do still work, believe it or not. But I'm also, somebody who is in that position of being a feminine receiver. Even in my day to day life, I choose to receive constantly. And that is something that I can touch on another time. But your rich, meaningful life really should have space for others in it, meaning that you should not build this island for yourself where you are self sufficient, you have everything you need, you don't rely on anybody else, nobody else can ever, do anything or come into the island or blah, blah, blah. You don't want to live like that. You want to live in a situation where there's room for people to come in and to join you and to be with you and to give to you, right? to give to you in exchange for what you are naturally, through your essence as a feminine woman, giving them. Because that's something that I think that a lot of us don't really realize, that our presence as feminine women is its own gift. And when we receive, we are only receiving in proportion to what we are already giving. That's why not all women, right, are in the situation to be receivers. Not all women, are being treated to, lavish lifestyles and gifts and the princess treatment, etc. It really is in proportion, right, to what we are naturally giving of ourselves. And that is something that is really just, it comes from within. It's very difficult to teach that or to provide that to women who don't have it, which is why there is or can be so much hostility from those people who just don't have access to what you do. When it comes to your rich, meaningful life and your choice to depend on others, when you are looking at your prospects as a woman, there is a reality that a lot of men don't necessarily want this woman who is doing so much better than them. They want to be able to step into that role as a masculine provider. So, really, this choice to step into your role as a feminine receiver is not just a choice to do that in and of itself, it's also a choice to participate in relationships in a way that a lot of men would prefer them to go. You don't want to be on the island all alone. You want to have somebody with you. You want to create space for somebody to do what they naturally are compelled to do, what they naturally want to do, what gives them meaning and purpose in life and makes them feel good about themselves. So, when it comes to your choice to be that feminine receiver, you should think about it not only as that choice to do that in and of itself, not only as a choice to receive, but also as the choice to make room for other people to participate in your life, period, in a productive way. Now, ladies, that's going to be it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, then please leave it a like below and check out the rest of the videos on my channel. I'll see you in my next one.